third mystery, which is the mystery of the human brain. And now, guys, I want to start with this one. If you think that the universe is complex, wide, and vast, and deep and everything, look at the human brain. It's super complex.
To apply to understand the universe that is up there. Because the universe that is between our ears, I dare to say in front of a famous theoretical physicist, is much more complex.
It's been said that we only use 10% of our brain.
It is estimated most human beings only use 10% of the brain's capacity. Imagine if we could access 100%. Interesting things begin to happen.
So the question is that, can we unlock the rest of the 90% of our brains? Can we unlock 100% of the full cerebral cortex? Or that's just a myth and we already use 100% of our brain? Now, I know you've probably seen some movies, you probably thought about it, probably seen a couple of shows, but have you really done your own independent research on the subject? Because this has really huge implications if this is a real reality. If we can't unlock 100% of our cerebral cortex. So you might want to look at this one more time before you come to an ultimate conclusion on the subject. Now, I'm well aware that the scientific community has pretty much said that it is a myth that we only use 10% of our brain, because we have brain scanning technologies now where they can see activities throughout the whole brain. So they concluded that you already use 100% of your brain.
Well, nowadays, we don't need to poke or probe. Instead, we can use scans. Here's a scan of my brain. With scans like this, we found that you use your whole brain all the time.
The 10% thing is a myth, and it probably comes from a simple confusion.
An enduring myth says we use only 10% of our brain, the other 90% standing idly by for spare capacity. 2/3 of the public and nearly half of science teachers mistakenly believe the 10% myth.
I will say to that, oh, really? I mean, why is there still dumb people out there? Why are there still retards running around? I mean, if you're saying that, if the scientific community is saying that you already used 100%, that would mean that you can't improve the brain. I mean, it's already capped. I'm going to side with the early neuroscientists and psychologists, because they also did a experiment, and their conclusion was that you only use 10% of the brain.
This 10 to 20% notion probably got started in the 1800s. In those days, researchers would put animals like mice or rabbits to sleep and then probe or even scoop their brains. When the animals woke up, they would function well or well enough. So researchers concluded that they didn't know what 90% of a brain does.
In the 1890s, William James, the father of American psychology, said, "Most of us do not meet our mental potential."
And then he mentions the work of his father's friend, Professor William James, who discovered in the domain of mental phenomena what he calls reserve energy. That's that whole 10% of the brain idea.
So which is it? Do we use 100% of our brain's capacity, or do we just use 10%? That is the mystery. I also side with people like William James, because William James was the one who asserted that we use a small portion of the brain, that we only use 10% of the brain. And he formed a theory called theory of reserved energy. You might want to check out the theory of reserved energy before you come to a conclusion. I know some of you guys are like, don't we have smarter neuroscientists and scientists today? No, that's not necessarily true. We have scientists that know more and have more knowledge and understanding of things, but that doesn't mean that the scientists today are more intelligent than the scientists in the 18th century or even the early 19th century. Intelligence is something else. It's not just accumulating a lot of knowledge. Now, just think about it. In science today, we don't understand what water is. We don't really understand gravity. And we don't even know how many genders there are. So are you going to believe everything scientists say about the brain? I think that would just be very idiotic and nonsensical to believe everything that they say. Now, most of you guys are just going to stick with the brain scans and leave it at that, which is perfectly fine if you just want to camp out there and throw all your eggs in one basket. You can do that, no problem. Also, look into the life of William James Sidis. William James Sidis was beyond smart and intelligent. He had an IQ of 250 to 300. This man was bananas.
In 1898, a truly unique person was born in Boston, Massachusetts. It was William James Sidis. When William turns 4, he reads the literature of Homer in the original. When he turns 6, he learns the works of Aristotle. At the age of 6, he finishes writing his 4th book. One of these books is a work on anatomy. By the age of 8, William speaks and writes fluently in English, Latin, French, Russian, Hebrew, Turkish, and Armenian. This isn't enough for him, and he comes up with his own unique language. His parents are a little shocked by their son's abilities. They realize he's too bright for a regular school. He's smarter than all the teachers and students. At the age of 9, William easily passes all the exams and enters Harvard. But the school doesn't allow him to go there at such an early age. So for the next 2 years, he continues to attend his old school and gets bored. He doesn't stop writing books. He finishes a novel, some poems in French, and a constitution for a fantastic utopia. And this is what distinguishes William from other prodigies. A young genius usually begins learning just one science, but our hero is interested and successful in completely different fields of knowledge: mathematics, astronomy, languages, politics, biology, philosophy, and much more.
He also elaborated on the theory of reserved energy in some of his writings. So there's no way people like Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, and William James Sidis had an average normal mind. These people had photographic memory, clear and vivid imagination. They could process information a whole lot quicker than a normal human being. I can conclude that everybody's brains aren't equal, meaning some people use a higher percentage of the cerebral cortex. Not everybody uses 100% of the brain. Now just think about it for a moment. If we can improve our brains, we can therefore conclude that we don't use 100% of the cerebral cortex. The scientists that suggest that we already use 100% of our brain is the myth. Because there is brain improvement.
This is what some might call the real-life limitless pill, which comes in this box that costs $400. And I'm going to try it, as well as a bunch of other powerful brain-boosting supplements, but working my way up, starting with the cheapest one. This one costs $10, comes with only 2 pills. As it said on the packaging, this amino acid rich liquid is the source of the adult hornet's strength, endurance, and seemingly boundless energy. I definitely feel it now. I feel like I can do another personal best in the squat.
Your eyes are bugging.
I think it's the caffeine. I never take caffeine. I hope it's gonna wear off soon. I've been working until just now. I think this gave me a good caffeine boost. So this cheap one has already had these effects. But first, it was time to try the second one, which is called Alpha Brain.
I want an Alpha Brain.
So this is supposed to help with focus and memory, and I'm gonna be taking it with
Chris.
Oh no. I've got some planning and writing to do for the next video. Let's see. Woo! I feel this one. A slight buzz, like my senses are heightened, and I'm just able to focus a little bit more. How you doing?
Those super amazing effects.
And it's not just berries. Long-term consumption of green tea has also been linked to enhanced short-term memory, working memory, attention, and reduced risk of cognitive decline.
We all can improve our brains. So, what do you want to believe? You're going to have to make a decision, because this decision has huge implications.
That's a good deductive postulation there.
Go ahead, Anonymous. Well, what's your thoughts on this subject?
1 sec. I'm going through my open field of streaming data, categorizing, postulating, and forming conclusions and calculations, and making assumptions and assertions, going through the whole field of biology, quantum biology, and neurology.
Guys, I created this AI to process millions of bytes of information at one time. You see, the human brain can only process 40 to 50 bytes at one time, so just give him a sec as he processes all this information.
I'm done, Chris. You see, the brain is likened unto a baby. A baby needs proper care and treatment from the parents. The breast milk from the mother is the most vitally crucial and important to the baby. The breast milk has the key vitamins, proteins, and carbohydrates, which causes exponential growth in the body. When the baby grows to a young child, the young child needs abstract matter from the formless world. In other words, the child needs teaching, indoctrination, and philosophical deductions to grow properly. If you teach a child that he is going to become the greatest guitar player ever, that child will do everything within his power to become the best guitar player ever. If you train up a child to become an astronaut and tell him that you're going to go to the moon one day, that child will only prepare for a mission to the moon. So just like the brain, first the brain needs unconditional care, nurture, vitamins, and minerals. It also needs indoctrination, teaching, understanding, and philosophy for the brain to fully mature. Just like a parent determines the limitations of a child, you determine the limitations of your own brain.
Wow, Anonymous, that was a beautiful connection. Wow, nice.
You see, when the brain receives advanced deductive information, the brain starts to believe in the idea that you can access 100% of the cerebral cortex that causes the brain to be stimulated. And it also causes the brain to make different and distinct neuropathic connections from one synaptical connection to another to form a neuropathic tree-like structure. You see, the mind creates this exotic metaphysical material and the form of an image in your mind, if it is saved properly in the memory banks, your brain then creates that reality in the inner realms of the mind. See, the mind is the world within itself.
Wait, Anonymous, wait before you get into this subject. I mean, I have knowledge on it, and we'll talk about this one in another video.
Fine. Furthermore, although human beings are conscious beings, their whole body is alive and conscious as well. Your body and brain is alive. It tells you when you need to eat. It tells you when you need to go to the bathroom. It's always categorizing information. It tells you when you need to yawn. It tells you when you need to go to bed. If you don't listen to your body, it will shut down. You see, the brain cells are always communicating and talking to one another through the synaptical connection. They begin to understand one another, and they begin to bond, which forms matter.
How did you manage to access all this information?
Electrical impulses. Every cell knows and talks to every other cell. They exchange 1,000 bits of information between them per second. Cells group together, forming a giant web of communication, which in turn forms matter. Cells get together, take on one form, deform, reform. Makes no difference, it's all the same.
Wow. How did you make those connections? It's like you're getting smarter as we go or something. Golly. I think I get it. So first it's nurture and care to the brain. Then teaching, understanding, and knowledge. Then the cells begin to communicate to one another. Then they finally connect, which that forms matter.
Christopher Chloe, there's a deep connection to your brain regards to time. For your body and your brain needs time for it to transform. Just like a child needs time to transform and grow into a fully grown adult. Time proposes a problem to humanity. They don't fathom its uniqueness, and they don't know how to captivate it. Chris, you did a wonderful job trying to explain what memory is and how it works. However, everything is governed by time. Without time, you don't exist.
But if humans are not the unit of measure, and the world isn't governed by mathematical laws, what governs all that?
Film a car speeding down a road. Speed up the image infinitely, and the car disappears. So what proof do we have of its existence? Time gives legitimacy to its existence. Time is the only true unit of measure. It gives proof to the existence of matter. Without time, we don't exist.
See, without time, a marriage cannot exist. The man has to spend time with his wife. It takes time to cook food. It takes time to memorize things. It takes time to form new ideas. It takes time to form a relationship. A religious person or a spiritual person will tell you it takes time to know God. It takes time to become an educated person. It takes time to read a book. It takes time to do extensive research on a subject. So your brain needs time to grow, transform, and evolve.
Wow, I never looked at time like that before. Oh man, so without time, you can't do anything. Without time, you don't exist. That does make sense. Wow. Well, comment, like, subscribe, donate if you want to see the channel grow.